Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Arslanbek Makhmudov, the unbeaten Russian, 13-0 currently, has announced he's returning to the ring in January. So you can see here on screen saying January 22, the fight against a very experienced rival, Mariusz Wach, and Makhmudov there with a picture of himself, and also Mariusz Wach, a smaller photo also on the same post. So I haven't seen this announced by Makhmudov's promoter, Eye of the Tiger Management, but presumably this is all signed, sealed, delivered for Makhmudov to be posting this here with some sort of official announcement to follow. So he is fighting out of Canada. He's with Eye of the Tiger Management. And I guess in terms of this fight, if you'd have said a couple of years ago when Makhmudov stopped Samuel Peter at the end of 2019 that 2 years later he would be in against Mariusz Wach, be unbeaten at 13-0, you'd maybe say, well, what's happened? Shouldn't he have progressed a little bit quicker? And there is this element, and I guess you can sort of say Filip Hrgović certainly falls into the same camp. There's been a lot of hurry up and wait. Makhmudov has been thirsting for tougher opponents, and actually Mariusz Wach does shape, I think on paper at least, the best opponent in terms of the durability, the prospect of going some rounds that Makhmudov's had in a couple of years. Bearing in mind, if we just get to his record here, the last couple of years, Samuel Peter included, you've got first round knockouts against Peter, Dylan Carmen, Pavel Sauer, Erkan Tepe, all first round stoppages, and some of those, like the Carmen one, that was after about 10 seconds. The Sauer one, 30 seconds. So a guy like Makhmudov is in serious jeopardy of being underseasoned by the time that he actually gets a proper fight that he needs to be in to advance his cause in the heavyweight division. Mariusz Wach is the sort of guy that I think a lot of heavyweights would like to be fighting when they're sort of in that 10 to 15 and 0 sort of range. And this is a good fight for Makhmudov in that context, that he can go in there. Mariusz Wach, a former long-time contender, not anymore, of course, well faded, 41 years old. But a couple of years ago, obviously, he had a competitive fight with Dillian Whyte, an out-of-shape Dillian Whyte, I might add. So Mariusz Wach certainly has a level. He's maybe a top 30 to top 40 guy right now, but given the context of some of the guys that Makhmudov has been facing, when you consider Tepe washed, Sauer just, selling his record, Dylan Carmen stopped in 10 seconds, Samuel Peter stopped in the first round, this is probably a bit of a step up from where he has been fighting in recent years. So it's not perfect, but I think these are the sorts of tests that he does need to some extent. But I guess it's a question as well, what's Mariusz Wach got left in the tank? Because obviously over 40 now, 41 at the time that they're going to be fighting, you have to question that. And Mariusz Wach's taken a lot of punishment over the years. And I know that there were some people certainly bigging up Mariusz Wach and his performance against Dillian Whyte, especially when Wach was going to be taking on Arjit Kabayel in 2020, and then the pandemic curtailed that. You had some deluded souls saying that Mariusz Wach was going to beat Arjit Kabayel, but you knew where that was coming from, that it was effectively trying to say that because he'd put up a halfway decent effort against an out-of-shape Dillian Whyte, that all of a sudden he was something again, and that sort of gave some credit to Whyte. It was very specious reasoning, but Mariusz Wach has been on the slide for some considerable time. And obviously we've seen him in the likes against Hughie Fury. That was in 2020, so a year ago at this point, he went the distance. So there is some optimism, at least for this fight, that Mariusz Wach can take Makhmudov some rounds. And let's face it, he needs the rounds. 4 first-round stoppages against mostly washed opponents in recent years is not good. I would expect, though, that sort of similar to, and a lot of people forget this, Martin Bakole absolutely beat up Mariusz Wach, and that was in 2019, prior to the Whyte fight. Wach got beaten up and taken out in 8 rounds, stopped on his feet, but he was absolutely just pummeled, absolutely pummeled in that one. I think we're going to see something similar, but maybe even worse against Makhmudov, because time has moved on, and Mariusz Wach, isn't any younger. Father Time is undefeated. There has been diminishing returns to some extent facing Wach, but at the end of the day, For a guy 13-0 who's desperate to get some rounds under his belt, they've probably had to put their hand a little deeper in their pocket to get Wach, because he does obviously give certain level heavyweights, and you could sort of saw from his record, Hughie Fury, that was against Mariusz Wach. That's a certain level. Fury needs those sort of rounds, those sorts of fights as he's sort of coming up. So in that context, not bad for Makhmudov, but let's hope that they can start stepping him up into some fights where you can kind of go, is he legit or not at a certain level? Because we know he's an absolute wrecking ball in terms of the right hand, the right uppercut, just a buzzsaw coming forward, just seek and destroy. But against certain level opponents, yeah, that's going to work fine. But we need to see what he's going to bring against guys who can box and move, who aren't going to just fall over at the first punch, that can actually outbox him and give him something to think about. Not guys like Pavel Sauer or Erkan Tepe who are looking for the canvas at the first opportunity, because that's really what we've seen. It does nothing for Makhmudov in that sense. But January 2022 is actually shaping up as not a bad month for heavyweight boxing, considering how dire 2021 has been. You've got Ortiz and Charles Martin fighting. You've got Tony Yoka versus Carlos Takam. Now Makhmudov returning against Mariusz Wach. That in of itself, and remembering the Ortiz-Martin card is stacked with heavyweight fights too, probably better than about 8 or 9 months of 2021. And that's just not even sort of fully set up for that month yet. So I'm liking the way that 2022 is going to start. This one here, I would expect that Makhmudov is going to get a stoppage, and don't be surprised if he actually stops Mariusz Wach in inside 6 rounds. Mariusz Wach certainly is durable, but he's been in a lot of wars, taken a lot of punishment, and I think there's diminishing returns in terms of his durability and the credit that you can get from facing a Mariusz Wach. But for Makhmudov, who struggled to get anyone with half a pulse, not a bad fight for where he is right now. But hopefully this is a situation you can step up and get to something a bit more meaningful after that, because he's kind of in a bit of a limbo. 2021, not a great year for him. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.